Second part of Introduction to Endocrinology, where we talk about the regulation of the hormone secretion. So, is there any need to regulate the hormone secretion? The answer would be yes. Even though the concentration of the hormones in the blood may range from 1 picogram to just maybe few micrograms, the need is to regulate the secretion in order to maintain the desired hormonal level for the various physiological activity occurring at the level of target tissue. We very well know that hormone exerts its action by means of receptors, which may be the cellular receptors or the receptor present in cytoplasm or nucleus. The receptors may be as little as 2000 and it may range up to 10,000 or so. So when we regulate the number of receptors on a particular cells, we are in fact regulating the action of the hormone. So this receptor can be down regulated when we say the number of receptors which are present on the surface are decreased. So prolonged exposure of any hormone results in the decreased number of receptors, and this occurs by the internalization of the receptors. The receptors will be taken inside the cells. They will be taken up by the lysosomes and destruction of these receptors will occur, and therefore the decrease in the number of receptors, and if the receptors are decreased, the hormone action will also be decreased. And quite the opposite of down regulation of the receptor, we have the up regulation of the receptor, which means an increase in the hormone receptor number as a consequence of the sustained low level of a particular hormone. So if a particular receptor is occupied by the hormone for a long time, or there is a sustained low exposure to a particular hormone, it will result in increased formation of new receptors. So when these new receptors are formed, they will naturally come up to the cell membrane and they will be externalized. Therefore, there will be an increased number of receptors. So greater availability of receptors will be there for the interaction of the hormone. And this is known as the upregulation, and the target tissue becomes more and more sensitive to the action of hormone. Regulation of the hormone also occurs by the most common phenomena of regulation, that is by the feedback mechanism. And as we know, we have two types of feedback mechanism. One is the negative feedback mechanism and the other being the positive feedback mechanism. So when we talk about the negative feedback mechanism, we mean a stimulus which causes the release of the hormone finally lead to the formation of products of the hormone or the hormone itself, which suppresses the further release of the hormone. So this is negative feedback. And quite the opposite, when the stimulus causes the release of the hormone or the product of hormone which enhances the further release of that hormone, it is known as positive feedback mechanism. So when we talk about the negative feedback control mechanism, which is the most common type of feedback mechanism that is responsible for the regulation of hormone, we have three levels of the control. One is the long loop feedback control mechanism. The second one is the short loop feedback control mechanism. And third one is the ultra short loop feedback mechanism. Let us understand the levels of the feedback mechanism. In order to understand the three levels of the feedback control mechanism, let us take an analogy with a medical student. Learning of the medical student is the responsibility of head of the department, the faculty and the tutors. So a medical student is made responsible for his action by the tutor, by the faculty or the head. So they exert a controlling mechanism over the medical student. So similarly, we draw an analogy that hypothalamus is the head. It releases various hormones which are responsible for the stimulation of hormones at the level of pituitary, and then we finally have a target organ where this stimulating hormone exerts its action and a hormone is released. So we have these three levels as we talked earlier. So one is the ultra short loop feedback mechanism. The releasing hormone which are released by the hypothalamus acts on the hypothalamus itself to influence the release of releasing hormone. The second level is the short loop feedback control. In this mechanism, the anterior pituitary hormones in the plasma provide a negative feedback to the hypothalamus, decreasing the secretion of the releasing hormone. And the third one will be the long loop feedback mechanism. In this case, the hormone secreted by the peripheral endocrine gland provides a negative feedback to either the hypothalamus, or it can provide a feedback to the anterior pituitary gland to regulate its secretion. So let us understand this with the help of an example. Let us understand the negative feedback mechanism with the help of this thyroid hormone. We already stated that we have three levels: at the level of hypothalamus, at the level of pituitary gland, and here at the level of thyroid gland, which is the peripheral target organ. So this hypothalamus releases a hormone upon the stimulation, that is thyrotropin releasing hormone, which stimulates the pituitary gland, anterior pituitary, to release the thyroid stimulating hormone, which acts on thyroid gland to release T3 and T4 in the plasma. So once these levels are reached in a sufficient amount, or sufficient secretion has been done for this hormone, then there is activation of the feedback signals from the thyroid gland to the hypothalamus and pituitary to suppress or slow down the further secretion. This may occur in the form of this long loop feedback mechanism, where it is causing decreased secretion of TRH, then decreased secretion of TSH, and then further decreased secretion of T3 and T4. This decrease may be due to the decreased level of synthesis and release of the hormone, maybe in the form of gene transcription and translation. The second loop may also exert from the pituitary gland to the hypothalamus, and this is known by the name of short loop, where the thyroid stimulating hormone, when reaches in a sufficient amount, causes the suppression of further release of TRH, therefore resulting in decreased secretion of T3 and T4. So these are the levels of negative feedback control mechanism. Now that we are clear with the three feedback control mechanism for the negative feedback loop, let us try to define each of them. First will be the long loop feedback mechanism, where a hormone secreted by the peripheral target organ, for example thyroid here, exerted a negative feedback to the hypothalamus or the anterior pituitary to suppress the secretion of the hormone. The second one will be the short loop feedback control, where the hormone secreted from the anterior pituitary, the stimulating hormone, provide a negative feedback to a hypothalamus releasing hormone to decrease its secretion. And the third one will be the ultra short long loop feedback mechanism, where the releasing hormone from the hypothalamus acts on the hypothalamus itself to prevent the release or decrease the release of the hypothalamic hormone. For example, here it was thyrotropin releasing hormone, which acts on the hypothalamus itself to decrease its secretion. Now here in this slide we have the other feedback mechanism, which is known by the name of positive feedback control mechanism, where a biological action of the hormone causes increased secretion of that hormone. An example can be taken here is the luteinizing hormone, where it causes where it results in the stimulatory effect of estrogen on the anterior pituitary just before ovulation, therefore enhancing the release of LH, which is also known by the name of LH surge just before the ovulation. So when it is acting to increase its secretion further, it is known by the name of positive feedback control mechanism. We know this concept that a hormone is not static, but rather it is a dynamic one, where it responds to the various physiological states of a person during a day or during a particular season, or so we have this periodic variation of hormone. An example we know of is that of a growth hormone. The growth hormone undergoes diurnal variation, or the daily change in the level of the growth hormone, and we know that this growth hormone, the increased secretion occurs during the early period of the sleep, and it is reduced in the later stages of the sleep. So this slide emphasizes on the point that there is a cyclical variation in the hormone due to the changes in the neuronal pathways which are involved in the release of these hormones. Here you can see in this graph, during the sleep time the growth hormone secretion is increased. Now this slide shows various clinical conditions which can in fact manifest if the secretion of the hormone is either increased, which is hypersecretion, or decreased, which is hyposecretion. So we can see thyroid stimulating hormone, it may result in goiter. So increased secretion at the level of the thyroid gland may result in Graves' disease and decrease in cretinism and myxedema. And then when we talk about steroids, then we may have Cushing syndrome in increased condition, or Addison in cases the secretion is decreased. Similarly, we can have gingitism for the growth hormone, and when it is increased, or dwarfism when it is decreased. So you can have a look at the various clinical disorders related to the hormone secretion. The reference material for the topic that we have covered today: